How's everyone doing? Alive? Yeah, that's good. Wasn't exactly the easiest week to trade. Although I did kind of predict where it would end up, which was neat. I am here. I don't know if I want to be. I don't really know if I wanted to stream today, but I'm here. I was thinking about backing out for a minute and just like fucking off and doing something else for the rest of the day. But then I remembered that I'm needed. Pure, welcome to Zillionaire, man. Per? Per? I think it's per. I'll go with that. Hit me up on the Discord. I'll get you added to the country club. Or back to the country club. Thank you so much, man. So I've got a... I guess you guys are the right people to talk to about this. I've got a... I need to consider some things with the Discord. It's getting bigger. I don't know why. Despite my best efforts to drive people away, more are showing up. And I think we need better rules, better outlets for political discussion, and better moderation policies. So far, I've been pretty hands-off for the last 4 years, besides, just randomly banning people I don't like. But I might need to change that a bit. Unfortunately, the current environment is very politically driven. It's difficult. My ultimate my ultimate preference would be for politics to just never be discussed, but that's not an option right now. So expect there to be something on that front soon. It is a market driven by politics, unfortunately, and it really even the minutia applies. Discussions around constitutionality of presidential actions has a significant impact on the bond market, which is in a highly volatile and stressed, illiquid state right now. And so, I mean, things in politics that would normally never apply to the market currently do, and it's a tricky situation to navigate. No, more mods isn't the answer. Um, I don't think we need more moderators. I think we just need to have a consistent and reliable framework that is the backdrop of of behavioral expectations within the Discord. Because in an attempt to keep things open, people on both sides have become emboldened with the statements they make towards others, and that's just not something that is going to be acceptable. So I'm not modding JFresh. He'll just ban everybody. He's been very clear on his goals. Is this any particular section of the Discord? No. No, it's kind of everywhere. Was there anything specific that inspired you to make this preface? Something I've been thinking about for a couple days. Um, I realize that it is not beneficial to market discussion for the the constant driver of chat to be political dalliance. And so yeah, I'm gonna yeah, a lot of politically inflammatory comments. Which you can't really, I mean, in this environment, you can't really tone it down. You know, everything's more divisive than it's probably ever been. No, I know it's my place. Just, I mean, as long as all of you remember that the rules, whatever rules I make, will not apply to me in any way. Only to you guys. They are rules for thee. 100%. But I also don't have time to argue with Poopy for 3 hours a day. So they may get a little more strict in some ways and more lenient in others. And I will try to open up some other channels to help facilitate some discussion. You know, I've already accepted that SPX Spy is basically treated as the general chat. I'm not going to change that on you guys, but I am going to divert some of the political influence in the general chat elsewhere where it is more appropriate. At least you're honest about it. Yeah. It's extremely hard to moderate a discord when politics of the party in power are extremely divisive. That's all you have to say. I mean, yeah, it is. No, not more bans. A more structured approach to bans and timeouts. That way, people are more readily able to assess their standing within the pickle jar, and if they choose to correct their behavior or not, they can they can they can use that as a measure or a gauge. I was timed out for something and I'd like to contest it 1 whole minute. You can have it back. For the next 60 seconds, Popcorn, you can do whatever you want. Go nuts. Starting now. It doesn't matter if you feel like one side is wrong or one side is in fact wrong, because there is, unfortunately, no. There's no way to argue that and win, right? So it's better to just not have the argument or have a more productive conversation. And so I intend to focus more on ensuring that conversations that do occur, whether they're inflammatory or not, are productive in some way. And if they are not, then there will be repercussions. Yep, yep, I agree. The alternative approach, which I have considered as well, is no holds barred. I don't care. Which might be actually more accurate, but some people will use that as license to attack others on an individual level, and I can't accept that either. So I didn't suggest it, but if you have time and care to, could you look at Stim? Yeah, maybe. Carl gave me an entire list of like 9,000 tickers you guys want me to look at. You know that the tariff exemptions have been put forward and pulled back and put forward and pulled back all weekend, right? No one really knows what the fuck is going on. It just seems that Trump is live commenting on negotiations with China. I think as far as the ladies' chat goes, I'm going to separate it, make it private, add the members that are currently in it, and then if anybody else wants access to it, they'll have to request access. And it's more a byproduct. And the reason I allowed it to be created was because the fucking chat is like 95% dudes. And it gets a bit much sometimes. We already have a hog chat, so to speak. I think if you wouldn't say it to your mother, it's probably not acceptable to say to a stranger online. That goes for you too, Avivs. How can you tell who's a dude when they join Billionaire? I have my ways. Will you show us in real time how a bidet works? Just anytime my face lights up during the trading day, you can assume that's why. Are you on the toilet right now? Maybe. Carl doesn't know who any of you. Alright, let's get started. You should probably be worried about it. The first ticker up is, in fact, Apple, which has seen some fairly significant drawdowns, but recovered pretty well into the back half of last week. We'll say a little bit higher low on the technical side, but we'll go take a look at the options chain. Ooh, Apple pushing up against Delta Neutral, which fell across all 3 days since its last test. Gamma max is coming down. A little bit of gamma is picking up near spot. Gamma on it moved positive in the last week, but adjusted delta still remains fairly negative. There's quite a lot of negative gamma to the upside, which offers up some squeeze potential. I would imagine, given the news in the overnight session, it'll probably open around like 210 or 225. So if you're not already long, you might be wasting your fucking time with it. But there's definitely a bullish bias from the tariff pullback. Yeah, big fucking stack of put delta to the upside. Um, even out to like 250. There's plenty of positive gamma after a break of 210 that can continue to support and carry price higher. We know that the market maker's total exposure to gamma is positive. Vana could also play a role there on increasing IV. So there might be some potential for out of the money calls if it does open substantially higher. There's still several hours till market open for negotiations with China to fall apart. Uh, IV 30 is increasing pretty rapidly and is moderately, was moderately above HV30. I don't like that the realized or historic vol is a bit higher than implied vol right now. So there was definitely some vol shorting into the back half of the day on Friday, I think. Maybe the last 2 days, really. Hmm. Falling back under GM would be pretty bearish. That's around 192. Okay. That's not a good color. I need a better color. Let's go with that. I like that one. Seems like Ken Carson was on the same trade you were on from Feb on. Do you think he's good to learn from? He's okay. He's better than most, but I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's a bit pedantic and not that well informed in some cases. Other times he's fine. I mean, he's a decent analyst. Not great, but decent. Haha, yeah, V2 is in fact up and running. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. ASTS bullish. Maybe a little. A lot more bullish above 25. Not a lot of delta in the chain, but it could push out to 30. I don't like what's going on with vol there. Can they vol there? Hmm. Hmm. I don't actually love this. I mean, it might retest gamma max. It might even push up to 30, but I'd say it'd be short term. Audio's kind of glitching. Oh, is it? I might just not have had my mic in a good spot. AVGO neutral. That's a weird take. Looks pretty bullish. Gamma turned positive. Hmm. Actually, maybe. Kind of. Well, there's definitely a lot of supportive delta in the money. Just not a lot of upside interest just yet. How's vol? Kind of meh. 10 also kind of meh. Yeah. Neutral on AVGO is pretty valid. B&ED bullish. People may likely be increasing their reading intake due to tariffs. Okay, you don't know what B&ED does, do you? B&ED is the publicly traded stock of campus Barnes and Noble bookstores. Um, they're not they're not the retail Barnes and Noble you see at a mall or your local shopping center. They're very specifically just exposure to the campus bookstores. The other Barnes and Noble is a private company that is separate from that. Um, Recessions tend to be fairly bad for college attendance, especially with the government pulling back a lot of educational subsidization. So I would say risky. Might get a bounce back from the recent sell off, but I think your long term thesis is a bit invalid. Also, why would people be increasing their reading intake due to tariffs? Half the country's illiterate. Oh, okay, not half. It's like 40%. The number is shockingly high. Undergrad enrollment has been trending down the last few years. Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of Gen Z is looking towards getting into trades because that's where the demand is. It cycles. I'm not entirely sure I'm bullish on the first half of the week due to the tariff news. I'm not sure that it's going to be. I'm not sure that it's going to be applicable. I mean, we might pump on it, but we might also just open at the high of that pump and fall off a cliff again. So yeah, so I'm not gonna write up B&ED, just because I think the thesis behind it is incorrect. BTU bullish. Girk mentioned it could squeeze. Explain why. If more than a reaction to political events. Trump wants to. Well, there's a bunch of people who want to know about BTU. I've been assigned on CSPs. Congratulations. I mean BTU's in a stable spot as far as their cash flows and everything goes. They did make an announcement last week, which kind of knocked them down a peg. That they are making an acquisition. Um, but they've maintained their buy ratings across the board with some upgrades to buys. Um, they're buying out Anglo American coal, which is obviously a big capital expenditure for them. I think 3.78 billion. But will improve margins and stuff moving forward. I think since they almost went bankrupt way back when, they've been doing pretty well for themselves. Obviously, the tariff news has impacted their share price pretty dramatically, but nothing like back during COVID when they were trading at like 80 cents. So I would say given Trump's egregious push towards beautiful, clean coal, um, and the subsidization he's promised for the industry, that coal will be fine and possibly exempt from tariffs anyway. And if that is the case, and China does need everyone's coal output, China still has a significant number of coal powered plants as part of their electric grid, and so India and China's demand for coal is still very, very high. Then I think BTU will probably do just fine, even with the short term spend on buying out Anglo American. So I mean I'm pretty bullish on it. It's trading like around my cost basis right now, um, which I raised a little bit, picking up some shares at 15. But yeah, I think it'll likely recover. It had a very good day on like Friday. I think it went up like another 13%. Seems to be chopping around here. It's been heavily shorted. I think some of their shorts are netting off right now, but if Trump announces more substantial or substantiated plans for subsidization in the coal industry, or if he announces exemption from tariffs for the coal industry, the shorts that are on it could get squeezed out. Oh my god, 54% have less than a sixth grade literacy level. Yeah, that's a problem. Dino? Oh, Sinclair? Hmm. Not the oil play I'd buy into, but they've been fine. I think their dividend's still way too high. So if they cut their dividend, then maybe it'd be a decent buy. I think their dividend's at like 7% or some shit. Um, which the last time I looked at them, their payout. Hold on, I'll just go look at it. Sinclair, they're a oil refining slash gas station company, oil refiner. DINO. Yeah, they still have like a 7.2% dividend. It's like a 242% payout ratio. It's fucking destroying their margins. I wouldn't buy that until they cut. J-Roll's an idiot. DVN neutral bullish underwater. With actually, you know what? With Trump renewing Biden's sanctions on the Russian economy, we might actually see DVN recover, possibly really quickly. We could take a look at DVN's option. That I'm willing to look at. I don't think looking at BTU's options chain is really worthwhile, but DVN probably is. DVN's like all the way at the bottom of its gamma curve right now. If it pops up, it could get back to like 42 to $50 pretty quickly. It's a pretty massive jump in gamma there. There's still a shitload of sold puts to the upside. Like 32.50, 35, 37.50, a bunch at 30, a lot of delta. So even out at like 40 and stuff. So it seems that people have been fairly willing to continue selling in the money puts on it. IV fell a little bit below historic vol on Friday, but I don't know if that means vol's going to come down in any substantial way. I think pressure on nat gas could be pretty good for them. I'll write that up. Hmm. Yeah, it's weird. DVN's been doing pretty well. Margins weren't great last quarter, but they were still at about 15%. And prior to that, they were holding around 20 on net margins. The payout ratio on the dividends only 31.72%, and they've been beating all of their earnings. They haven't missed an earnings since like Feb of 2023. So obviously, the downside in that has been more recession fueled than anything else. I will say that those recession expectations probably aren't going to fade anytime soon. Oh, fucking Fubo! God damn it! It's still at the same fucking price. All right, I will reiterate for those of you asking about Fubo again this week. Fubo will move on news and earnings, and that is it. Otherwise, chop between 350 and 250. There's just not much to say about it right now. There was really high expectations during the buyout. Fubo's management trimmed those expectations. The price of the stock fell. If those expectations rise again, the price of the stock will go up. I don't think it's, you know, anything. I don't really think anything else significant is going on there right now. We're going to see subscriber growth and revenues coming in from Hulu Live and see what that looks like. I think their next earnings is like out in May at some point. Will Fubo be tariffed? Will tariffs be Fuboed? It might get deported, but I don't know if it'll get tariffed. I'm not going over Neo. Kiss my ass. GLD bullish. As long as there is dollar risk, gold is probably going to continue to go up. It's the only hedge if you are losing confidence in U.S. Treasuries. There isn't really an alternative there. And no, Bitcoin is not an alternative. Bitcoin is just leveraged dollars, which is actually a really big problem. Can we talk the euro? It's up a bunch. What a way to treat a pigeon whale. I answered it last week when you asked me about it. We're in the middle of a trade war with China, and you're like, what about this Chinese EV manufacturer? I know you're kidding. The last line of currency defense. Oh god, GME. Let's take a look. There's a little bit of covering at the end of the day on Friday. Might be worth peeking at. Pushing up. Tested Gamma Max, which isn't usually a good sign. Gamma is picking up. So is Delta on the chain. Looks like the majority of interest still between like 25 and 30, which hasn't changed much, but there's a little bit more out of the money delta out to about 35 coming in. I don't know. Looks like some of that was on Friday. Mostly call side. How's Vol? Volatility hasn't picked up that much. It's still actually pretty low, so options on GME are still relatively cheap right now. I would say it probably has room to run out to about 30, maybe 32. Foreign exchange arb closed the day out on Friday positive. There was a little bit of little bit of covering on XRT from about noon onwards. Correlation there is fairly high. It's still very liquid, which I find to be slightly problematic. Let me take a look at the daily here. Yeah, I would kind of be careful, as there is the potential for this to just get kind of shorted right back down. I would say that the covering on XRT is not really significant enough yet to present like a big run. Like if you're thinking like April 2024, this doesn't look like that just yet. But there are some indications that it could move up, another like $6. Did Cohen buy any BTC yet? They might get a bump in earnings from like the Switch console release, but that could get wiped out again because Nintendo rolled back the launch date. So they may have to refund a bunch of pre-orders in the next quarter, which could hit the balance sheet a little bit. I don't think they're making money from anything else. But seems fine. And yeah, probably like $6 upside. So it's like 7. Hims bearish. RHM is an enigma wrapped in luscious silk candy with a nougat of semi-sweet joy. What the fuck is RHM? We can take a look at Hims. I mean, it's not bullish here, but it would be if it got back above 30. Delta's been falling off pretty hard. Yeah, very choppy positioning to the upside, but on a break of 30, quite bullish. kind of neutral, actually, I would say, for now. Good. Looks like Gamma picked up and then fell off and picked up and fell off. Just cyclical short-term buying. Uh, yeah, I would say about 45, 50 is a viable target. There's not a lot of delta past 45, which is a bit of a problem. And 46 is gamma max. So I will say delta's picking up. Looks like gamma is too a bit. So that's kind of in a good spot. IWM. A little less impacted by the pullback in tariffs on technology products. I would say IWM is probably more exposed to impact in the financial sector and like health tech and tech services. I don't think I don't think electronics is a really significant portion of the index. So I would say that IWM is probably less likely to react bullishly to the news over the weekend. But there's still a shitload of sold puts in the money that can squeeze to the upside. And there's a fuck ton of delta there. So any upside moves on IWM are probably going to be volatile. Um, and if if NQ and S&P are rocketing, probably see some cover bid in IWM as well. I will say that it's currently very far off of the CTA buy-ins at like 205 and 210 though, like where things actually get bullish. But there's no reason to think that on a strong index move it couldn't push up to 190, 195, 200. No, Lucid and Neo don't stand to benefit off the decline in Tesla. They really just don't. They're not alternatives. Neither is Rivian. We talked about this last week. Stop trying to get bullish on EV companies when the most well funded, well supported, and well subsidized EV company couldn't make it. Nvidia, tariff exemption news could continue to move up, but Gamma seems kind of slim except at 1520. Not confident on the range. I don't think Nvidia cares about range. Buying in the underlying as the dispersion trade is entered will fuel upside moves, and a break of 115 or 120 would be very, very bullish. Maybe not so much on the delta side, but definitely gamma, and then significant increases in vega to the upside as well. I would say this has moved back above VN. Gamma neutral is rising. There is not a lot of delta being picked up on the chain, but that can change pretty quickly. So I wouldn't even stop at 115. 115, 120 are important tests to the upside. Oh, what's next? QQQ, same as the other indexes, which we'll cover in a bit. SCHW, GN, TN flipped Friday. That's kind of bullish. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Not a ton of upside range on it, but it looks pretty good. UNH. Bearish. Thinking of bear calls for May OPEX. Lots of positioning falling off for April OPEX. I don't think UNH being over Gamma Max is all that significant. About 5 billion at Delta. Yeah, okay. Skew adjusted Delta is kind of falling off. I don't know if I'd want to give it that much time. There's still plenty of Gamma and Delta to the upside. This could keep moving up. I probably wouldn't sell bear calls on this. I don't think the options interest is significant enough to have a strong effect on the realization of more upside. I do like Gamma's not really supporting moves higher here. but it may not act as a, a barrier to moves higher. This is like a big Dow stock. People are buying the underlying on this far more than they're, pushing into the options chain. It does have a decent amount of options interest, but the liquidity is not that good. Rates aren't coming down. The confidence in US debt has been shaken, and that's something that will take possibly a very, very long time to correct. Upstart 38.99. We can take a look at it. It could have some room for recovery. More bullish above 41. Not a lot of delta or gamma on the chain. Not super well supported at spot either. A little bit more bullish. Yeah, out above the 41 level. IV is rising, which is a good look, and gamma does increase pretty steadily to the upside. There's quite a lot of delta between 45 and 57. So if we're going to do anything squeezy, it would probably have to happen in that range. I'm really only focused on indexes. I'm not sure why we did tickers this week, but I humored everyone and ran through everything you guys put on the list this morning. So there's in the upside moves. There's an advantage to trading the equities over the index. Um, in that you get increasing vol and you have more more range potential. However, things can turn around really quickly right now. Um, and being stuck in a possibly illiquid or less liquid market when that happens can be really, really devastating. So, I have no problem with playing equities to the upside, but I don't really think you need to be like a good stock picker to do that right now. Right? You could literally just buy like a call on each of the Mag 7 and you'd probably be fine. Um if you want like the dispersion exposure. And then, short a put on the index or whatever. To cover some of your cost basis, but I still think the situation's just too volatile, and those stocks in that dispersion trade, that shit can sell off 10% overnight after rebounding. So there's a massive amount of risk in exposure there, and I'm trying to keep my risk exposure either neutral if I'm carrying it overnight, or intraday, which equities aren't always the best for intraday trading. You have to buy more theta on them, which is already kind of shitty. Yeah, risk is extremely high right now. I'm getting GS practice. Yeah, sure. That's good enough. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this and post it for you guys in Pickles Picks. And then grab the quants and we can talk indexes. We have a short week this week too, so no, I think no Friday expiration, just the 17th is the end of the week. Be aware of that also. And, the effects of SLD and OPEX as we move into them. I don't think Charm's extraordinarily supportive right now. Alright. There's that. Throw that out. Boop. Hey guys.
What's going on?
Sorry for the delay there. I just I got like caught up in going over all the tickers and lost track of time.
Like when you say all the tickers, you mean like every ticker?
No, like people requested like 25 tickers today, and I think I covered all of them.
I don't know why you like to be their intern like that.
I don't either. Well, I mean, had Carl asked me, I would have been like, no tickers this week. All that matters are indexes. Because nobody in the pickle jar is gonna like enter like a dispersion trade. So, yeah, I would have just covered indexes and been done with this shit an hour. Like, well, now we'd just be done now instead of starting now.
So it's Carl's fault.
Yeah.
Who do we blame?
That's Carl. No, Carl. It's Carl. Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Okay. You know what we were doing? Or what I was doing while we were waiting?
Gooning?
Well, yes, we're doing a little of that.
Okay.
I am rerunning 10 years of data. I was hoping to be done in time for us to have this conversation, but I'm just entering 2024 now, but hopefully we'll get there soon. Sorry, I'm eating some nuts.
No, that's fine. What kind of nut?
It's a trail mix.
Oh, okay.
My son ate all the M&Ms and raisins, and then gave me a bowl of nuts and said, "I don't want these. Eat them." And I said, "Fuck you! You ate all the M&Ms and raisins." He's 9.
Yeah.
That's
what I would have.
I said, I don't want them because that's like 500 calories of nuts, and I'm fat.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, just eat most of them. Don't eat all of them." And I said, "That's not how that works. I already had lunch. I'm not hungry." So anyway.
So now you're eating them all.
Done with the nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts it's like a good 500 calories though. You got some like omega 6s in there. probably no salt left after his hands dug through the whole trail mix.
Yeah.
You know, so he
the greasy hands.
yeah, he probably extracted all the salt, so the sodium intake's not going to be too bad.
I'm
Well,
not
he had
gonna
the
lie.
oils
No,
from his. He scratched his ass, and the oils picked up the salt.
all right, cool.
When I was
anyway,
like,
we were trying to figure out which AI could tell us what day 0DTE options started trading on SPXW, and none of them know.
oh, it was like July of 2022.
Wrong.
June?
Wrong. No.
When was it?
September 19th.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, it took us a little. Dork found a Newswire link for the announcement.
Was it announced in
Um,
June? I feel like June's important somewhere in
Well, I
there.
think June is where they
think-
implemented Wednesday.
Oh, maybe.
No,
No, that was older. That would have been
no
2020.
Yeah. So I think I think they started doing announcements and stuff around May, because the dates, when I can get it to give me something more than just 2022, it'll mention like a random date in May. So I think that's just like when it starts finding articles that are discussing them, like the future implementation of them.
Mhm.
But yeah, if anyone, I know all you guys love your little chat bots, so if you guys want to figure out if one of them can tell you what day.
I remember a
started
couple
trading.
weeks ago somebody like fed GS into Pickles Picks. It was like the week I was like, "Oh, we're going to drop to like 5200." And Pickles Picks was like and the chatbot was all like, "Yeah, moderately bullish. Go long this
Yeah.
strike." And I hope that they went to all that effort to try to replicate me with a chatbot and lost all their money. That's my dream. I don't know what happened to them. I haven't talked to them since, but I hope that's exactly how it went down.
The pettiness I value, I appreciate that. I respect that.
How dare they?
Exactly.
Like I can be
How dare they?
recreated. Foolish.
Well, you could if you publish Pickles Picks for free on the internet. Wouldn't it be great if you if like all of your Pickles Picks were just summarized and showing up at the top of Google search? Like if I just like Google searched Pickles Picks, what's going to happen?
Nothing.
Oh, it goes to Pickle Financial. When's the last time you stopped publishing Pickles Picks in 2024? It looks like on Pickle Financial.
I never
for Reddit.
published them on there. The only thing I ever did on there was talk about GME, and I hated it.
Well, there's a post that says today's Pickles Picks. Oh, it's in our pickles, and it's just they picked a jar of pickles.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with me. I'm not even a member or moderator of our pickles.
But it says
No, that's just people
like the
picking
link-
pickles. Like
But it says Pickles
Peter
Picks
Piper
are Pickle Financial.
picked a pack of pickled. Well, he didn't even pick pickles. He just picked peppers. Everything I know is a lie.
Peter Piper.
Yeah.
They were pickled peppers, though.
Yeah, but still peppers. Also, who the fuck eats pickled peppers?
Here's one. I found a pickle 2 years ago. Somebody said his name is Huge Deuce. I seem to remember him.
That seems, yeah.
The title was Pickles Picks, and it was just a question that says, "How does one get access to Pickles Picks?"
Yeah.
So, yeah,
you
thank
can
God,
find them every
Huge
week
Deuce.
on my Discord or James Rowland's Discord for 5 times more money.
Oh God, I thought he died in Israel.
I wish.
I mean, sorry, Israel.
Israel, yeah. No one's ever
Yeah.
died in Israel, actually, because it's not a real fucking country.
Is imaginary. Anyway, all right. I feel like if there's a line, we're probably crossing it.
Banana peppers. Are those really pickled? I guess they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
I don't
I
like
don't think I've
them.
ever had a none. I don't either.
They just taste like soap.
They're too. They're too zesty.
They're like
There's a little too
sour
much zest
soap.
in
They
them.
ruin the flavor of everything you put them on.
I mean, the only thing anyone puts them on is like Papa John's pizza, which has already ruined itself.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
put them
you've
on
ruined
sandwiches.
yourself by buying Papa John's pizza in the first place.
What's wrong
Are
with Papa
you-
John's?
Fuck you, dork.
What? Jeez.
God, you're such a trog sometimes. I need to like civilize dork somehow, and I don't know how. Like he's already done all
really funny
the
is-
psycho, like the psychonaut stuff.
So,
You
so
know
if you
the
increase my salary by 50%, you'll probably fix me right then and there.
You'll just
it's true.
turn into a snob, but you'll still be in a food desert.
So who gives a shit? I'll have more money.
I have
You
to
live for a long
extract
time
you.
off
I have
Doritos.
to pull you out of Nevada. It's
Yeah,
it's
do
like
that.
one of my lifelong goals now. So just know that it will happen.
You can live for years off of Doritos and Coca-Cola so long as it's made with real sugar, which is what
That's what
his face
cells
is
crave.
doing. He's trying to save everybody in Nevada.
I have a 6-month-old jar of peanut M&Ms. Are those still okay to eat?
Yeah, maybe.
Probably. Is it open or no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just comes open. It's not like
Well, the
hermetically
candy coating
sealed
is
in any way.
antibiotic.
Yeah, right?
You're good.
But what about the nut
Yeah,
on the
candy coating.
inside decaying?
It's
My
a
heart says
mummified
it's
peanut.
fine.
Follow-up question. When your
I don't-
son handed you the nuts, did he say D's?
No, but he would have.
Nice.
He loves D's nuts jokes. As
course
any
he does.
9-year-old boy would.
Yeah, of course.
It's funny because balls are weird. They're just like a sack of things, and if you hit them, they hurt. It's just a really
I
weird
can't even
thing.
imagine what it would be like being a dad and trying to explain nuts.
Oh, I tell my kids all the time they came out of my balls. They hate it. It's so gross.
That's really gross.
But it's
yeah.
true. Yeah. I call them my little ball worms.
You ever try like bolocytes?
No, I've just stuck to ball worms. That seems to do the trick.
Ooh, testocyte. That's even better.
Christ.
It's got a better tongue feel.
You guys disgust me.
Nah. Okay.
Do you guys ever enjoy the way
Like-
words feel in your mouth? Or is that autism?
no.
Yes. What is a word here in this context? Are we talking about something else or just like actual words?
Just saying words.
Like Peter Piper
Picked a
picked
pack of pickled peppers,
pickled-
yeah. Or how much
pickled
wood could a woodchuck
pickles.
chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
One of those is alliteration, and the other one is just repetition.
it's true.
Peter Piper's way better because it's packed with alliteration.
You know what's great? Fox and socks.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Great. Luke Luck likes lakes. Luke Luck licks lakes.
Tweedle beetle battle.
Rob slobbed on Bob's cob.
No.
No, that's not
Alright.
in the book. That's a different.
Yeah.
That's a
not-
different book. That was
guys
after.
had a
That was
different
after
view of me.
Dr. Zeus cheated on his cancerous wife.
Your dad read you a very different book.
It was a movie called Debbie Does Dallas. It was a lot of fun.
Your dad showed that to you? So
No, he had it, and it was sitting on their bed, and so I just popped it in the VCR, and away I went.
wait, is this real or are you just riffing here?
I'm just fucking with you guys.
Oh,
When I
really
was
wanted it to
when
be
I was
real.
5
I
years
had so
old,
many questions.
I found a magazine of naked women in a hotel room hidden under the bed. And I determined then and there that I was going to marry all of them and circled the ones I liked best and then showed them to my mom when she got back to the room. I got in a lot of trouble.
So you guys know Trisha Heifer?
No,
She was in Battlestar Galactica.
sure.
So I had a buddy in middle school who, classic childhood divorce story. So when he was hanging out with his dad would let him do whatever because his dad was, I think, an alcoholic. And he would just literally let us do whatever we wanted. So
those were my favorite friends in high school. The parents with serious addiction issues. Those are the best houses to hang out at.
Oh yeah, like we shot his dad's buddy in the back of the ear with an airsoft gun, and he was like, "Who's the marksman?" But he had a preponderance in nudie mags, particularly Playboys, and in one of them was there was one that was Trisha Heifer, I forget, or Helfer, or whatever her name is.
From Battle
You said it differently every single time.
Yeah, you've said her name 4 different ways.
God damn, I'm looking it up now, you fucking dickheads. Trisha Helfer.
Helfer.
Yes.
She's Canadian.
So yeah, she did. Holy, yeah.
She's got
she also showed
very strong jaw.
And a very tight bot, at least back in 1999 or whenever this issue was released. But I stole that nudie mag.
You stole it? Wait, hold on.
I stole the shit out of it.
You know something Gen Z will never understand? Hiding naked pictures of women in various places around their houses so that their parents can't find them, but they still have access to them.
Oh yeah. No, it was a very honestly, it was one of the most wholesome pastimes of our generation. Hiding shit from our parents, physical things.
Physical naked pictures of women.
Yeah, like you print them out on the printer, and then you'd have to like sneakily go to the printer and like, what are you printing out? I'm like, homework.
Oh, dude, I remember when I 6 hours after I started my download of my first boob image on LimeWire, I immediately printed.
Canceled itself halfway through.
No. I immediately printed out like 20 copies and sold them at school for $5 each.
Oh shit!
Nice.
Quick hundo.
Yeah. I used that money to buy
Mark,
cigarettes.
What were you doing with all those printouts in your room? Why would you?
What the fuck do you think I was doing with them?
Who's waxing his bean, stroking the pole, choking the chicken, draining the dolphin.
I was polishing my guitar neck, dude. Yeah.
Your bell end.
Yes, I was polishing my bell end.
I don't want to have that conversation again. I was really glad that one occurred without an audience.
Dude, we had a 45-minute discussion about how bell end is not a proper term for a dick tip.
Hold on, no. Jay Fresh disagreed that it was an inappropriate term for a dick tip.
Oh yeah, my god. Topology's wrong. It's supported.
Yeah, I was pulling my plonker. That's what I was doing, guys.
We know. Did you guys ever have like that friend that got lost in pulling their plonker in high school?
What?
Oh,
like they just disappeared and got like acne and sweaty the next like 6 months later when you saw them again.
Oh yeah. Well, it was either that or you discovered sex since you turned into.
Oh wait, hold on. Jay Fresh's lack of an answer makes me think he was that kid.
Well, he was homeschooled and he went to like fucking.
I wasn't homeschooled in high school. I'm trying to think of which
he didn't
one
talk to another person until he was like 30.
I had like 2 good friends in high school that discovered porn and then pot, and I never saw either one of them again.
That's crazy. That's sad.
I discovered marijuana and sex in high school, and then from then on, my dreams of going to Stanford completely vanished out of my brain.
Huh.
I was also a dipshit before that, and my teachers also never believed in me, so they didn't give me any extra time. So I was
dork.
So
I don't harbor any ill will.
Is this why you're so?
I can confirm. I was going to say I can confirm your teachers were correct. You're very difficult to work with, but you're improving greatly.
I know I pushed you over the edge multiple times, Jay Fresh.
I was going to ask, is this why you seek Jay Fresh's approval so hard? He's not only your dad, but also your teacher.
He's the teacher I never had.
All the teachers.
He's the teacher you never dad.
Oh God, don't put that on me. But also, you're doing great.
You're doing great, son.
I did not say son.
It's okay. I said it for you.
I have plenty of kids. I'm not looking for another one. Although I'll say this, Dork. I'll give you this compliment, which hopefully won't psychologically.
Oh, Daddy, please compliment me.
Hopefully, this won't psychologically alter the trajectory of your life. But for whatever reason, I've recently had to go through a bunch of potential applicants for our program for a master's, and there's been like a lot of physics students. It's been crazy, and I've been going through it. I'm just like, I would rather just hire Dork if I was going to hire a physics student.
I mean, it's because I'm self-directed. I mean, that's really it.
You see, you're already growing. You're complimenting yourself. That's
I was about to say nobody said compliment yourself here, but
you got to do that a little bit. If you're not going to cheerlead for yourself, nobody will.
It's true. It's true. That's why I'll make sure that everyone knows how awesome I am every day.
No, that's just because you're egotistical, but I digress.
That too.
It's okay.
All right, so
a lot of billionaires are narcissists.
Girk would make millions of supportive cameos to the pickle jar. Do you guys want affirmations? I can charge you for those. That's fine.
Ooh, how much you charging? I'll take one right now if it's under $5.
$5.
Fuck. I said under.
Part of the deal.
So easy and so effective.
Speaking of art of the deal, guys, apparently the mom and pop iPhone manufacturers of the world got a break this weekend.
I thought I just saw recently, like right before we hopped on here, that China just announced that they were going to restrict rare earth metals. Is that old? This is 2 days ago.
Look, all I know is Trump's going to start walking back, and I feel like China's going to double down. That's what I feel like is going to happen.
I feel like Trump walked back and then said, oh, wait, no, there's still tariffs on all those goods. And I think everyone expects tomorrow to open like 5% to the upside. But in reality, he's already repealed the statement that he made. Which was neither of which were official statements.
Lutnick came out today and was talking about how they're going to impose tariffs on those items in a focused way in like a month.
Yeah.
So now the key takeaway here is chaos.
Yes.
So you're either going to bet that the chaos is going to lead to something breaking, or the chaos is going to lead to nothing. I feel like those are the only two outcomes you can game here. Like either it's all theater, or it could be all theater, but it's enough theater to like cause something to break.
Well, I mean, the thing is that there's people who are less willing and able to buy truckloads of treasuries at a time.
Yeah, I'm definitely much more interested. Like, I think, okay, sure, like it could be plausible. There's enough regarded folks who, who've been Pavloved over the last, 4 years now to just buy every dip. Well, 18 years, roughly, to just buy absolutely every dip, or you'll be punished if you aren't, with poverty.
Yeah.
So I fully expect that to continue, right? They're going to do all the obvious shit. They're going to buy the meme 7. They're going to pump calls on indices. I suspect SPY and QQQ will be pretty wild. But here's the thing. Upside vol is still vol. And I'm looking at Gamma Strike, and I'm specifically looking at SPY.
Gamma Strike? What's that?
It's just a website I use for option stuff.
Is it pretty neat?
I mean, it's all right. It's good value for what it offers, I guess.
Top tier shillery.
Like HV10 on SPY right now is 72. IV10 is 35. So people are definitely underpricing vol. And even, like the vol traders that I follow on X are all just like, they've all just like lit up because they're so excited because vol's been dead for forever. So they're all just like, oh, vol's cheap. I'll be happy to warehouse that vol for you if you're willing to sell it. So yeah, 5% gap up is just going to keep realized vol high, and it's going to put stress on those short vol traders.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, it's going to put them in a
plus,
position where they're unwilling to sell vol.
And what happens when risk is high? What happens to leverage?
Mm-hmm.
It gets low. Here, I
posted margins already bleeding hard.
Yeah, margin continues to contract, which means selling assets to meet margin.
Well, check out the chart I just
Has
posted.
anybody seen that the margin requirements on futures went up?
Again, or they went up last? Because I saw they went up last week.
Yeah, they went up last week. End of the week last week.
It was pretty significant.
That's really for intraday, like just non-event based intraday margin to rise is very significant.
Oh, we got
check out the
updated.
chart I posted.
I mean,
updated Bama Lama Ding Dong.
The cost to carry is significantly higher.
Well, let me show you graphically what that means with Bama Lama Ding Dong.
You're just gonna show a picture of like somebody hitting their penis with a hammer, aren't you?
I mean, well, yes, that's exactly what this chart is showing. I mean, the green line is the interesting one, right? That's the one that shows you. And I don't think it's necessarily that people don't want debt from, these companies. I think it's just that they can't want it.
Yeah, I mean, those are the types of things that you start selling off to meet margin, right? I would have to guess that people were saying that all the selling of bonds is like hedge funds and stuff, but I have to imagine that like those are still fine to margin, or no?
Well, they are, but the thing is when you're on a margin loan, right? If you're not making payments from your returns, then you're making payments from your portfolio, like your assets that you're collateralizing for the margin loan. So that's why they're selling.
Because if it's actually them selling off U.S. Treasuries, you would think it's like the last thing they would sell off to try to maintain margin.
Well, that's why you see the spreads on high yield go up first, and then you start seeing when they rocket up, you start seeing the spreads on AAA go up about a week later or 2 weeks later. It's because the shit rolls downhill. So yeah, first thing they're doing is they're selling off their junk that was collateralized to AAA because there's these things called collateral swaps. They had to unwind those, and then they dump their high yield, and then they're going to, dump their higher quality shit as they go up more and more. They still haven't dumped the AAA yet, but I think they have a little bit. But, I mean...
Here's the question. Obviously, they're the ones that have Trump's ear, right? The poor mom and pop laptop manufacturers in Iowa.
And banks, yeah.
Yeah, aren't getting
aren't
getting an hour with Trump. Obviously, Tim Cook is. But,
my neighbor's garage-based microchip business is going to fail.
What is a garage-based microchip business?
I think that's where he smokes a bunch of meth and then rips apart old radios and stuff that he got at the dump.
Apple started in a garage.
A lot of companies started in a garage.
Yeah.
Apple did not start as a microchip manufacturer.
Well, they started as a computer builder. But you're right, they didn't build the chips, but they bought the chips and put them into a nice little piece of plastic and then hooked it up. Anyway, yeah, things are still screwed. But yeah, I'll be looking at bonds tomorrow, even if equities rip.
I mean, are equities really going to rip though?
I don't know. Is the basis trade going to unwind?
Isn't it already?
It's unwinding.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's about ready to go kaplooey, but I don't know. We might have some more time. There might be one last big lever up, and then it goes kablooey.
What's repo look like?
Like losing your car because you can't pay your debts.
That's not really how overnight repo works. Ew.
Yeah, it's almost fully done. That's healthy, right? That means everything's returning to normal.
Wait, hold on. What's the treasury balance?
It's like 300 billion, down from 800. But also taxes are due this week, so it'll be interesting to see this Wednesday. So taxes are due on Tuesday, so this Wednesday's number should show a lot of that. And if it's weak, yeesh.
The treasury balance is down 500 billion in the last month. 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ouch.
Spending's
Still no
going
budget
up, like,
resolution, right?
7% a year versus in GDP.
Yeah.
No, they're still working on it. They also haven't raised the debt ceiling, but the expectation is they have till something like August or something to spin down the TGA. But a lot of that depends on how much tax revenue they take in on Tuesday.
Well, they didn't get any from me. Well, they did get some from me.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, I mean, tariffs are still on, and people are still feeling the pinch. And this is anecdotal, but and I'm not making this up because I had did a double take. I was at the grocery store last night. I was in the jelly aisle, and some older man at the other end of the aisle. I don't know what he was looking at, but he looked. He was looking at some food item and just yelled, "Thanks, Trump!" Really loud. And I was like, "Holy shit! People are really upset."
I mean, yeah, he did. It's still 10% across the board, except if you're Tim Cook.
No,
Or
it's still
Jensen
10.
Wong.
Don't they still? I don't know. I can't keep track. And even if I did find out, it's going to change tomorrow anyway, so why even bother?
Yeah.
So what was it last week? The 3-year auction was the one that almost failed?
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, primary dealers bid 22%. Which is...
Yeah,
so primary
really
dealers, I think people need to understand this. Primary dealers have to buy. They are designated with maintaining liquidity in the treasuries market. And if there are no other buyers, they are the buyer of last resort. And so generally, primary dealers make up about 12 to 15% of any auction. Last week, I think on the 3-year, they made up about 22%, which is really significant because it means that the demand for the US 3-year in the open market was extraordinarily low. I think the historic average is 16%. So, several standard deviations lower than expected. And so, yeah, that's very, very bad for the liquidity in the treasury market because obviously primary dealers can only absorb so much debt. And this was a problem going into the COVID crash as well. And, during the COVID crash after rates were cut even more so. And one of the reasons banks are in the problematic spot they're in now where they're very exposed to yields moving up at the top end of the curve. So we almost failed an auction last week. And should we maybe dive into the basis trade so people understand? I don't think people understand it very well.
I don't know how much I understand it, so sure.
Okay,
Let's
so
talk through it.
Dirk, feel free to jump on me if I'm making this overly complex, but I'll try to simplify it. Basically, the basis trade is you buy cash treasuries, and you sell the paired treasury futures contract. And basically, your goal in the trade is to profit from the spread between the two prices. Like you're profiting from the arbitrage in the spread as the two prices converge at settlement. The margin requirements for the trade are really, really low, generally speaking.
Fuck yeah, they are.
Like almost non-existent, and so it's generally heavily levered, like 50, 100, 200x. And they use repo markets to finance the bond purchases. And so, you know, in normal market conditions, there's very little risk in this trade. But as you know, the top end of the curve, that bear steepener in the 10-2 year that we watch really frequently, or the 10-year 3 month, as those move up, the risk in that trade increases, and the typically extraordinarily low margin requirements rise rapidly, but they're rising rapidly on extraordinarily heavy leverage, which we've discussed with the carry trade previously, and you guys might be more familiar with this, how the spread works in the carry trade and where leverage is exposed there. This is very similar in a lot of ways, except you have both concurrently collapsing, which is obviously very stressful for bond markets, because if bond prices fall, the cash leg of the trade loses value, and the futures leg, the hedge where they sell the futures contract, may not lose value as rapidly, or may not gain value as rapidly as the bond price falls, which creates a wider spread and creates a higher demand for cash margin. But the cash side of the trade is falling, and so they have lower cash deposits and a higher margin requirement. And so if the trade widens instead of narrowing into expiration, those funds can get really quickly blown up, um, due to the extraordinarily high leverage, and that can cause forced unwinds, which we may have seen over the last week. If it was a baby, it's not mine. Maybe J Fresh's kid. Um, and if someone is forced to unwind that trade, they further compound the losses of everyone remaining in the trade, because yields will push higher and bond prices will push down as they are forced to unwind what remains of their cash positions. And the financing of those positions through the repo market becomes more costly the more liquidation that occurs. And that creates a loop, basically. So it's kind of like once it starts, it's very, very, very hard to turn it around. And that's why, for the last week or so, I've been like, I think Trump's already started a fire that he can't put out. And that's largely the reason. And that's all significantly compounded by the fact that a lot of those cash out assets are already being levered up in the carry trade as well, right? So you've got cash assets that they're levering up in the short yen long dollar trade, and then they're leveraging up that cash into the basis trade. And so you're talking about, multiple layers of compounded exposure. that are all losing value to essentially the same mechanic. That is very, very, very hard or nigh impossible to stop without Treasury or Fed intervention.
I want to make sure I understand the allure of the basis trade so I can understand a little bit more about how they're thinking about it and what it means if it unwinds. So they buy the spot, they buy, like, say, the spot bond, and then they sell a futures bond. And at expiration, they gain the difference between the spot price and the futures price at that time. But isn't that, I mean, just from arbitrage basics, I mean, this is like a pretty basic arbitrage of like put call parity. Like, isn't that difference just the rate of the bonds? Like, it shouldn't be any higher.
So, if you want to get into why basis trade, it's I mean, it's not risk-free arbitrage, but it's almost risk-free arbitrage in normal market conditions. Usually the spread between the Treasury futures and the underlying bond ownership is really small, and the decay of that spread into expiration is very consistent. And so it allows, since it's seen as extremely safe or same as cash collateral, hedge funds are able to go borrow against it in the repo market with next to no interest cost. And so
would you say it's essentially a way to get the return on bonds in a very leveraged way?
Yeah. I mean, you can get like you can take like,
because this makes more sense.
You can take like $20 million.
Like, just buy the bonds and wait.
You can take like $20 million and leverage it up via repo to like $500 million.
Okay.
And so you can get far more meaningful profit off of that very tiny amount of arbitrage because the leverage is so high.
Yeah. That makes sense. So they're highly levered into a quote unquote low risk.
Yeah.
Well, that also is why the bond market has been so crazy deep and liquid, throughout everything since 2022. These basis traders do sort of create a self-fulfilling prophecy on the collapsing spread because they're the ones facilitating and also, facilitating is the best way to put it. It is the best way to put it. They're making it happen, right? They're making it happen more smoothly and efficiently and consistently. And they create this layer of synthetic liquidity in the Treasury and the Treasury's futures market.
Actually, you know what? That's a really good way of putting it. It's basically a carry trade on liquidity in the Treasury market.
Yeah.
Which is great,
Okay.
Unless liquidity dries up.
Yeah, it all depends on real liquidity being there on the other side of the trade.
Yeah. So if
you can't,
So when professionals are on social media saying things like the depth of the bond market is the thinnest it's been in a really long time, that's bad, right?
That's pretty bad, yeah.
It's very, very bad.
Yeah.
And it's something that really can't, I mean, once it starts to unwind, there's no, even if the Treasury steps in and provides liquidity, they may not be able to provide enough to slow down the unwind.
So this is like the moment in The Big Short when he's talking to that dude about CDOs. When he figures out like one house can be leveraged into, hundreds of millions of dollars of leverage and all these different, products. This is a very similar thing where one, quote unquote treasury can be turned into a massive swath of leverage. So, and it's not even just one treasury too. There's these ways you can actually recollateralize your shit bonds And so it's not just treasuries, it's big lots bonds.
So yeah,
Bed
here I'll
Bath
tell
and
you a
Beyond
story.
bonds.
You're at JPM and you bought a bunch of 2% 10-year bonds back in 2020, and you've taken those bonds to Japan and you've gotten leverage against those bonds at a 2% premium, of like 10x, and then you take your $100 million that you got from Japan and you bring it to the US repo market and you leverage it up to um 1.5 billion, and you push that money into um like into the basis trade at an additional 50x leverage from on your $10 million.
Yeah, retail likes to think they're degenerates, but when you're talking about low risk trades like this,
And then they
financial markets are so degenerate.
both start blowing up at the same time.
They're so fucking
So now you've got,
dude. Like,
you've got $10 million and you've got $200 million in exposure, and you've got a 2% padding. And then anything above that, you start getting margin called on not only your basis trade position, but your carry trade leverage as well.
well, the thing is too is that like it's not like the margin call that happens isn't like what happens with your brokerage and you just automatically start getting liquidated. What happens is you start looking at the numbers and realize I have so much exposure that if this goes beyond this point, we are going to have losses that far exceed 100% of our assets.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're basically leveraged 500x on their initial position.
Yeah, yeah.
So every dollar loss is a $500 loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the tails that they assume will never get breached, right? Well, it's the sigmas they're shorting.
well, the thing is too is that margins just contracting in general, right? And so they can just get screwed just from the contraction of margin.
They are the margin.
Well, they're still getting margin from other places to do this leverage, right? They're still going to banks ultimately to get this margin from
I mean, well, no.
So,
Banks are willing to finance these trades, and then their position in these trades acts as their cash holding on which they
margin,
get leverage against. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, margin is a loan also.
It's the same thing.
You can conflate the two. That's fine, actually.
Yeah, so
they're specifically different, though. You should understand the difference.
Well, yeah, no, because margin is directly managed by your lender, but these guys are just getting loans with any of them, and they're making these deals. It's like it is different because they have to maintain it themselves, lest they get blown up. It's the whole thing where like if I borrow $100 from the bank and don't pay it back, that's my problem. But if I borrow $100 billion and leverage it 500%, that's the bank's problem. It's basically that.
I do worry a little bit about this because I mean I've mentioned before that I was digging through like where's all the money coming from that's being made in the private sector because like nobody's like nobody wants credit, nobody wants more credit, especially like industrial and commercial. And so it's like, where are the banks getting, like, where is the system getting this money? And it's all coming from, or not all of it, but a lot of it, a significant amount of it is coming from non-bank financial institutions. It's something like close to half of the money that's been generated from the private sector in the last year has come from non-bank financial institutions.
It's all Robinhood.
Which is, it's essentially margin or whatever loans for these investment type transactions. And if that starts to blow up, my concern is that if there is no longer private credit creation to absorb the public debt creation, that all of a sudden we're going to start having a crisis of deficits and debt, right, in the U.S., right? People aren't going to want to buy these treasuries unless they are, compensated for it in a way that matches, the rate at which it's growing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the
and that's the thing. It's like everything's going great as long as like everything keeps going. And that was like Biden's MO. It's like the train doesn't have to stop as long as we make sure it doesn't stop, right? And yeah, they're gonna it's gonna keep getting worse, but it's not gonna stop. And I don't know that Trump and his cabinet and things understand all of that. I think some of them do. I think Scott Bessent probably has some idea of this, but I don't know like how much
that's
influence
why
he has. And
convinced Trump to claw back the tariffs for 90 days.
yeah, I don't know how much other people like really understand that. Although, yes, like Trump is now very fixated on the bond market as he has made statements about it. But yeah, I mean this is going to be an issue because the government needs the only like private credit expansion happening right now is in finance. Like it's just leverage. And so once the leverage game stops, like there's nobody's going to want to buy his debt, and he has a lot of debt that he has to sell. I mean, he's already drained 500 billion, and we're still like the rates that we're at are still insane. Right? The fact that he's drained $500 billion from the TGA, essentially injected $500 billion of cash into the system that could just turn around and buy 500 billion in excess in bonds, right? There's all of this money available to buy all these bonds, and yet still the rates are getting out of control. Like that's really scary to me. That is not a good situation.
No.
Because once he has to turn around and claw back that $500 billion, right? And force people, hey, I know you don't want to buy these things, but now I have to sell them, so now you have to buy them. Time's up. Like what's going to happen? Right? So the question will be, what will the Fed do in that situation? Because the Fed has said they're not going to start buying things until rates are zero. And the time it will take them to get rates to zero, I think they'll just move too slowly. So I think we are at risk of having a strong bond vomit event.
Oh yeah, the risk is massive right now.
And it's just so interesting to me because like everybody is so conditioned to number go up. Everything gets fixed. Even like the worst crises, they get fixed. Everyone's kind of forgotten or doesn't remember the pain from the last great crisis, which was 2008. I actually, after thinking about it more,
from 2008 was softened so much though. No, like that's what people don't understand is that we're living.
I agree.
Our economy is floated on the goodwill extended in 2008 up until now.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree. But people look at like, well, the economy crashed or the markets crashed in 2020. I'm actually going to say that wasn't even a crash. That was just volatility.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consider
it was.
that
I mean, the COVID
crash
was. Yeah, you're right. It was just a big spike in uncertainty.
Yeah,
which is just realized
they got control of it,
up.
And it just like slapped right back up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we've had like a meaningful financial event, since 2008.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have forgotten what that could be like. And people, like you said, people don't realize that it can actually be much worse.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the Fed basically gave themselves, 6 feet of rope to hang themselves with in 2008. And now the hole's about 5.5 feet deep. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Everybody's focused on Apple's, tech's going to go up tomorrow. Like everyone's expecting this massive gap up, and the story is just like we're returning back to normal. Things are getting back under control. Trump is an impotent clown. that is going to eventually just, art of the deal himself out of the situation he got himself into. And
all the things.
And I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, all the things we've spent the last 2.5 years talking about. He lit a fire, like a massive fire, under all of those risk factors. Under the carry trade, under the bond market. He fucked with U.S. exceptionalism, and the price is gonna be. I think the price is gonna be paid regardless. I think he could fully pull back tariffs at this point everywhere, and it wouldn't matter anymore.
I tend to agree, actually. It's going to be really hard to put this genie back in the bottle, especially if over this week, if they can't get realized vol under control.
You can't start a war to fix this, Bob. It takes too long.
Yeah. It all is going to take too long. The Fed's going to be too slow. Any sort of declaration of war is going to be too slow. If anything, like what he's doing now with China could lead to a war of some kind.
The debt wars. I've lamented on these.
But it will be caused by crisis, not in anticipation of preventing crisis.
So who wants to take the over under on Trump announces that Chinese debt, the U.S. debt owned by China, is no longer valid debt?
Sounds it sounds like something he would do. That I kind of love that.
I mean, no, you don't. But
no. I love that way of thinking because that is something that he has talked about in the past as a solution, which is kind of the way he things that has been brewing in his mind. He's just like he has mind worms, and this is one of his mind worms that he can't he can't dislodge from the inside of his brain. Where it's like, oh, we can just cancel the debt. Like, what are they going to do? The answer is go to war, but
yeah, $800 billion is a damn good reason to go to war. They can't go to war with us, though. They know it would be unwinnable. But
they'll invade Taiwan.
Yeah, they will invade Taiwan.
Immediately.
Yeah. Within
they'll
hours.
invade Taiwan. They'll ally with Russia.
Possibly South Korea and Japan as well.
Yeah, that would be bad. If they got Japan on, bad. Oh my god, that would just be chaos.
It'd be really bad because EU doesn't like us that much either right now.
Nobody really does, right?
Yeah, we've managed to alienate every ally in 3 months.
I was interested to see that the EU is in discussions, at least with China, and in discussing removing or reducing tariffs on Chinese EVs in Europe, which is a huge, a huge kind of middle finger to Trump to be like, hey, you want to play this game? Well, let's dance. I think I don't know. I reject this narrative that we're in a position where we can just bully everyone and they'll just bow and say, because what Trump is actually asking the entire world to do is to basically bow to him in subservience, kiss the ring, and pay their duty tax to their Lord Emperor. And
it's a VIG.
It's just not. Yeah.
It's just a VIG. Yeah. Give me my protection money, or I'm gonna bust up your shop.
Yeah, but it's just not. Yes, we have a big military, but the value of our military is in selling that to people. We still have to have people who want us to have that military and to use it in their interest, right? So, I mean, China could just very easily not attack significant powers, like you said, Taiwan and swooping into Ukraine and other areas with Russia. Like they could just target small areas where it's just like our military is so outsized for that fight that it's just doesn't really matter if we use it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if China like tried to invade like Germany or something or whatever, that would probably be a mistake.
There's, yeah, I mean, this
But
is.
they can also extend their reach into the Middle East and into Africa, right? And it's like you don't need F-35s for a war, a war in the sand with sticks.
It's very hard to bring the full extent of our military might to bear in any smaller conflict. The only place where it's truly applicable would be a world war on a scale of which we've never seen before or since the proliferation of nuclear weapons, which would be a horrific event, especially if this were the cause of it. But I mean, I'd like to think things would never get that far. I think we're still a long way from that happening.
We're probably going a little bit off the deep end down this rabbit hole at this point, but
Kiko says some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
Who?
Kiko.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, at least in the short term, I think confusion and uncertainty is going to reign, and that's going to show up in vol. Vol, I think, is going to be stubborn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's likely to remain elevated.
And it's just
and he needs his pound of flesh.
Who's gonna short vol right now? You gonna short vol? I'm not.
Me? No.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. Todd's not
vol
gonna
is
short
still
this
cheap.
shit.
Vol is cheap still. Somebody's shorting it. Vol is cheap.
But are they gonna short it beyond like 5 days?
I don't know, but they're basically.
You mean 5 minutes?
Let's see. Yeah, 10-day vol super cheap. 30-day vol a little cheap, maybe not crazy, but a little bit on the cheap side. 60-day, meh, okay. About
as the longer vol persists, the cheaper. Like if volatility persists for longer, what's going to happen is those longer term historic vols are going to creep up, and that would mean that the price of vol out to those distances should creep up alongside.
Yeah, they'll creep up a little, but I think, and I'm just looking just to finish the thought. 90-day vol is priced appropriately. So it looks like people are basically betting that this volatility event will resolve itself in the next 10 to 30 days. And they're already placing their bets that that's going to be the case.
Oh my god, but 10-day vol is so cheap.
Right. 10-day vol is very cheap and it's probably underpriced. I mean, even if I look, so my handy dandy, this tool that I hope to one day, if everyone will allow it, to maybe proliferate out to others once it's validated, tells me that right now the thing, vol is a little, vol is underpriced at the money. Vol is still overpriced on the put side, and it is still very underpriced on the call side over the next 10 to 30 days. And so a lot of that vol compression is from the call side. So I think probably, I think that just reinforces with the narrative of everybody just frothing at the mouth to go long tech. That shortfall, I think, is going to get blown out. And so we're going to have quite a ramp. But then once that ramp expires, once that ramp kind of blows out, there's all of that vol to the downside that's ready to eat it up. So I think we're just going into a higher vol environment that people are going to, I feel like over this week, the story is going to be everything was overblown. Nothing ever happens. You guys are worry warts. Like we're going back to normal. Stock go up. everything's great, and then something's going to happen in the next few weeks that is going to turn that the other way into all of the high volatility positions that are waiting for it.
I actually think right away, I think everyone who's going long over the weekend is going to get burned hard.
I mean, I think they
almost
will,
immediately.
You think on open tonight or tomorrow?
I think as soon as there's room for the vol buyers to come back in, they are going to fucking destroy any short vol that moved in on the non-official news of tariffs being pulled back.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
I think like we hit the cap. Like I think we kind of like just ran out of like volatility instrument liquidity at the bottom. I don't think the demand for long vol has gone anywhere. Because don't forget that there's like $5 trillion worth of U.S. Treasuries that were bought at yields that are 2% below or 2% above where they were a week ago, and all of those portfolios need to be exposed to long vol, leveraged long vol.
Yeah,
it's a really dangerous situation. I don't know. I mean, like I'm gonna just do what I do and buy my straddles every night and hope the market moves 5%.
Yeah, I mean, straddles are definitely attractive here. I think continue to be, as vol continues to be underpriced. You're going to realize more than what you're paying. Well, that's the definition.
Trump just tweeted, there was no tariff exception announced on Friday. These products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they're just moving to a different tariff bucket. And there you have it.
Fentanyl tariffs?
Part of the deal.
Wait.
Oh, man.
The fentanyl?
Spires, send me the source on that if you could.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously.
I want to confirm it, but yeah, that's a clawback. I warned you guys that it wasn't an official statement. God, ooh, you know what I am long? J-Fresh? You know what I'm long? Just straight long. Volatility.
What?
Where'd you buy your VIX shares from?
The futures market.
Nice.
No. Your spot VIX shares.
They don't sell shares of that.
Well, he takes delivery on them since they're futures, right? He'll take delivery.
They're
by the
cash
truckload.
Settled. You can't just receive
a
bucket of volatility.
Wait, hold on. Wait, yeah. How would that work though? Let's like if someone just like some truck just pulls up and it's just like
lightning.
It's tannerite.
It's lightning in a bottle. I don't know. They just you know what they do? They just hand you it's just a giant milk gallon. It's like a milk jug half full of nitroglycerin. That's there you go. Here's some volatility for you.
They just like fill your house with high pressure hydrogen tanks
and lithium.
Just like yeah, and they're just
they give you a Roomba that just sparks a lighter every couple minutes.
Yeah, that I would consider that to be high vol. Yeah.
Just tanks of TNT sitting around your house with like strikers all over them.
Nice.
Guys, I created the first pickle jar bond while we were talking. Wolf of Walgreens asked for 6 positive affirmations at $5 a piece, and I gave them to him, and I told him he owed me $30. And now
$30.30.
No.
Well, you're fronting him the money.
Ooh, yeah. What is the coupon? You make.
I said 10% because I think that pickle jar is a bunch of degenerates. So
yeah, I mean, if Trump can do, yeah, all right, you're right. Is that annualized or should we do?
Is there a futures market? Can I like buy some futures affirmations for delivery at a later date?
Yeah, of course.
Can we? Where's this news? Where's this thing?
I'm waiting to see.
Oh,
here we go. I got it. Yep.
Tweet.
True
Here's
Social.
the tweet straight from Yeah, straight from the horse's mouth. I'll just read it if that's cool.
Yeah, you can.
No, nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that other countries have used against us, especially not China, which by far treats us the worst.
You need to
This is so
emphasize
wrong.
that. There's a exclamation point there.
The worst.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to trumpet the worst.
Nobody
by far.
treats us worse than China.
There was no tariff exception announced on Friday. These products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they are just moving to a different tariff bucket. I don't understand what is he just talking about fentanyl?
He doesn't either.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He's trying to be like Stephen Miller told him a bunch of shit, and now he's trying to parrot it. All right, it's complicated.
Oh, resubmit
I don't
the
understand why Donald Trump
Bearish
listens to Stephen Miller. I don't understand why Donald Trump listens to Stephen Miller, because Stephen Miller is going bald. Lutnick, also bald.
Huh.
Like, why does he have so many
scary.
bald? Elon Musk, balding, he had to get hair plugs.
Yeah, especially
Why does
with
he surround
Trump's
himself-
full head of beautiful blonde.
Because he's bald too. He relates.
He is not bald yet.
Yes, he is.
Mm.
You've seen the video of the toupee flapping in the wind.
You mean his 7 hairs?
Yeah, his comb over of
Yeah,
hairs.
they're thick, lush. They're thick and wonderful hairs. Those are the best hairs that any human has ever grown.
Bald men across the
Okay.
country come crying to him
Everything
saying,
is-
Donald, how do we get hair as thick and lustrous as yours?
So yeah,
Well-
I mean, he's just basically saying everything is fentanyl and it's all tariffed at 20%. I have no fucking idea. Anyway, I think the message still stands. Nobody knows what's going on, including him, and uncertainty breeds volatility.
Yeah, no one knows what anyone is even talking about. No, like, yeah. I think it's once the container shows up in the port, you find out what the tariffs are.
And if you're lucky, you get a rebate on it later.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they're already trying to figure out how to subsidize farmers for all the exports that they do to China, getting ass
Dude,
fucked.
if you're a small business that has to deal with this, you're fucked.
If you're a medium business that has to deal with this, you're fucked. If you're a pretty large business, like you have to have a lot of inelastic demand to deal with this. If your demand is at all elastic, you're in problem territory.
AI will fix this.
Yeah, the coal-powered AI, right?
Yeah, it's the best kind. It's for flavor.
Yeah.
Which is why
AI flavor.
this is why, you know what? Actually, I think this is why Grok is eventually just going to lose whatever the AI wars are. Because they're making their AI with natural gas, and you just can't beat beautiful, clean coal. Just the
I thought they were making
taste
it with propane.
with
It's a clean
smoke.
burn.
No, it's natural gas. It's actually kind of interesting. They only got permits for 15. They have like 35 of them. They're like basically destroying Memphis's air quality to churn out a chatbot for some reason.
This is the part that confuses me. Like all the like, it's so weird how like Elon. Okay, let's just say green freak, electric cars, loves the environment back in 2021. Okay, now Elon, Grok, boiling legs, destroying air quality, and cooking the earth for chatbot.
Yeah. That's why I own BTU.
Like these tech bros, dude, they have no morality, and I don't get why we like give them any sort of a platform or anything other than the criticism they're due.
I think a lot of that is the media has definitely
Well, the media has
shit
no
the
fucking
bed.
morals either, dude. They're fucking
Yeah, well,
bought out
that's
by
what I'm
everybody
saying.
too.
They completely shit the bed on, educating people on this and actually holding those people, who are saying ridiculous things like AGI in 2 years and, everything's going to
The
be
media is
better.
owned by fucking Rupert Murdoch and Jeff Bezos, dude.
Rupert Murdoch doesn't know what AI is. It's like, what was
No,
it?
he doesn't care.
Did you guys see last, I think it was yesterday at some point, Secretary of Education?
Oh yeah, said A1.
Yeah, A1. Like, she was talking about how like they're bringing AI all the way down to like kindergartners and pre-K, and
Yeah,
like
I
how
saw
great it's
that.
going to be because they're just such sponges. We're bringing the A1 down to pre-K and kindergarten, and they're such sponges, and they're going to absorb all of that wonderful information that they're being taught by the A1.
Yeah, I graduated top of my class at Flavortown Elementary.
Yeah.
Oh
A1,
yeah,
the best sauce.
long beef futures.
Yeah, A1 makes a bad steak
I
good.
have a question to propose to you guys. What if like Curtis Yarvin and Thiel and Vance and Elon put all their money on Trump and are now realizing that he's actually the most volatile asset?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're
They knew that. It's like buying options, dude. They're
well,
just
they're
they're just
realizing that in
degening.
real time. No. I mean, I think they all came to kiss the ring, right? Inauguration. They all gave like a gentleman's million to the inauguration fund and showed up and
A
slopped the
gentleman's
knob,
million.
rubbed the old bell end, if as they say in the UK. Um, they were all hoping that
Polish the banister.
this yeah that this this would be a net positive for them, and that this would end regulations because they all like started rolling back all their DEI stuff, and their Facebook, probably the most craven of them all, is just like, oh, we're not going to fact check things anymore or check to make sure people aren't like issuing death threats and things. It's just Wild West again. Everything's fine again.
Well, yeah, you got to deregulate along with the government.
So I think they were I don't think they were thinking about unbridled lunacy. They were thinking of unfettered growth.
Well,
And what they're going to get is unfettered volatility.
I mean, like I think that like Elon was okay with Project 2025. But all these other tech bros, they didn't think it was going to happen.
I'll be honest, I haven't really looked into it. People just kind of scoffed at it and said it was crazy, and so I figured
It
okay,
is, but look it up,
40,
look it up, and draw
40%
parallels.
chance. I mean, I guess it's yeah, maybe I'll take a look, but yeah, the volatility I think is going to bite him in the ass. But you can also tell too. I mean, I think a big part of that push wasn't just simply like fewer regulations and more ability to make money or increase their margins. I think it was also, they are definitely over the last year or so, they have been increasingly persistent at getting into the government, like digging their roots into the government to try to extract the greenest, most delicious money that there is, which are government contracts. Which as the private market basically rejects their product, they go to the government and try to leech on those things. But so I think part of that getting in Trump's good graces is part of that as well. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. We'll see.
Reread Peter
I,
Thiel's. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say I know someone that works at Facebook and talking today and just about AI and all that shit. And it kind of occurred to me in this discussion that we're not just in an AI bubble. I think maybe the bubble that the AI bubble grew on top of was the ad bubble. And so I'm really going to kind of dig. I'm really going to kind of dig into this idea that people are willing to pay so much money for fucking ads. Like you talk about inelastic demand. Holy shit. And what do all these companies really sell? They sell ads.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's always blown my mind how inelastic that demand is, especially at these monopolies. Like I understand that ads sell, like ads work, and I know that they have a lot of statistics and things and tools to track and see which ads work. But I think what's really interesting is like Temu, for example, has just kind of shown that yes, ads work, but they don't even have to be coherent ads. They can just be like random AI slop that we create based on some things we know about you to create images of things that you might know what they are. And then you'd be like, oh, I want that. And then I'll click on Temu. And then you think about like all the
on society.
But then you think about all the money and effort that goes into like developing ad campaigns and doing all of that legwork, which ostensibly AI is good at helping with. It's like none of that matters. Like you are just, you run 5 different ad campaigns and see which one does best. And you can almost, it sounds like they're incredibly bad at predicting which one of the ad campaigns is going to do well. And so they just basically they're just firing shotgun and then seeing what sticks. And then they just push on that one, the one that sticks. And it's like, why do ad agencies need to exist? And then what is the actual return, right? Is the return actually so high on these advertisements that people are willing to pay 20% more every year to Facebook in perpetuity? Like, I just don't. It seems insane to me, and I would like to dig more into like the economics of advertisements because.
Careful, Jay Fresh, you're going to turn into a product manager.
I think that might be the actual bubble, and AI is an offshoot, like
AI is just a way to create ads faster.
Well, yeah, but it's like a. What's the word? When a like a blood vessel or a hose like bubbles out.
A hernia?
Well, it's like a hernia, but it's for like a tube.
Oh. Embolism?
Yeah. I think AI is an embolism of the ad bubble.
This is amazing vernacular. It's an embolism.
Anyway, that's what I'm gonna. So the AI embolism could be the thing that pops all of it.
Can we call it the A1 embolism?
Sure. Yes, it's actually full of steak sauce, so that would be appropriate. The bubble is full of steak sauce.
I mean, if you think about it, like how much capital has been pumped into AI over the last year and a half, 2 years. And all of that capital is massively at risk that the product it invested in is useless.
But, where did it come? Who are the people that think it's useful? It's the people who have been making money in ads and in the ad space, ad tech.
Yeah.
And so they see this as a way to sort of further along that success. Anyway, I need to dig more into it to kind of develop that theory more and maybe test it a little bit. But I think it's got enough legs that it's worthwhile to kind of think about.
It seems.
But I just want to understand the answer to the question of why is demand so inelastic for ads? Why are people willing to pay ostensibly anything for ads?
Because their customer is worth more. So if they can derive one customer from any ad, that price is the value of that customer, is a percentage of the value of that customer over time.
Yeah, but where's the limit on it?
I don't know if there is one. There's
Well,
like what the
ads,
market can sustain.
ad costs are growing faster than wages, so there has to be one.
I mean, so you got to think about it this way, Jay Fresh. Like, software as a service, it naturally has pretty solid margins, right? So if your cost per customer, right, without even considering ads, let's say you have like a 70% margin, right? The cost of acquiring customers, that's your ads and shit. If you see like a 20% increase in customer acquisition rates because of ads, right? But your cost per customer reduces your margin to like 65%, it's so worth it.
That's what I'm getting at is like, at what point is it not worth it, right? There is a price
Full
for an
market.
ad.
I think it's not the price where it's not worth it. It's the amount of like market penetration or saturation that you've achieved.
Exactly.
Like if you've achieved 80% market saturation, then the demand for advertising becomes more elastic.
Well, no, this is like, so think, yeah, but the thing is there's no like, oh, this is how many customers we have. It's all guessing and stuff. And just at some point, your subscription count or whatever, or your customer count, your size of your customer base seems to start flattening out, right? It's a sigmoid. But you don't know if that's because you're doing something wrong or have you fully saturated the market. And in the case of like Apple, you notice there's really not a ton of Apple ads out there because they know they've saturated the market. But when you look at like what's that? There's that zombie defense game that shows up every 3 seconds on Reddit, right? Like, even though they've hit the sigmoid because they just suck, they're just going to advertise harder and harder because they don't have penetration because their game sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually we have, as a collective, we have to hit the top of the sigmoid.
Well, no, well, that only assumes that there's no new products created.
Well, no, you have to. It's a zero-sum game, right? You can't continue to grow ads forever above wage growth. Eventually, people will just run out of money to spend on things.
Well, now it goes beyond ads. Now we're just talking about inflation. And ads, and you're assuming that ads are a one-to-one direct pass-on cost to the consumer, which it is
That's
not.
an interesting idea. So ads. So AI is the embolism on the ass bubble that is ads, which is on the pus-filled ass cheek that is the Federal Reserve easy money policy.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the great financial circle jerk. We've discussed this.
And so when the AI embolism pops, all of the pus in the A1 steak sauce inside of that ass will just squirt all over everything and completely deflate the ass. We're the ass.
You'll be left with nothing but like a deflated A1 and pus covered butthole.
Doesn't sound good.
No. Well, it's not. It's not supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to make you sad. Yeah.
What if we printed more money and stuffed that in the ass?
Well, we can puff it back up again with that, but each time we do that, the wrinkles and stuff show more and more until you turn into like one of those super plastic chicks that you see on reality TV.
They're just going to keep pumping that ass full of money until it's so shredded that it can't hold money anymore.
Like, it'll look like those ladies that have like the insane cheeks and lips that are just ridiculous. It'll look like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much already what our economy looks like.
All right. Who won this week?
Me.
Of course you did.
But But like really, like it was like the second week in a row where I was pretty spot on.
Here's I'm just putting a picture in chat of what our economy looks like because of the Fed.
Don't be mean. But yeah, you're not wrong.
Dear God.
I just saw you posted the wig of Trump.
Yeah, when you're talking about him having a big, lush, beautiful head of hair.
How dare
I don't know.
how
The
dare
hair
you speak
kind of looks
against your
real.
leader?
His hair kind of looks real. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's just a massive comb over blowing off.
Yeah, but it's real.
He's just put like extensions in his comb over.
That's what I do.
There's something about extensions in Trump's hair that just, I don't know, makes me giggle. If true, big if true.
Girk, please
All
say
right,
something.
so we're going to.
I'm just kind of letting JFresh ramble on about his ass bubbles. I mean,
I feel very strongly about
Friday
Aspen.
saw a pretty significant, like, what, almost $1 trillion decline in at the money. Well, it was like $900 billion decline in at the money put delta, but not an equivalent rise in at the money call delta. So we saw a bunch of put delta come off, but total put leverage didn't really shift a lot. I will say that the slope of our at the money put leverage is more supportive than we've seen for like a week or two. But I'm not sure
like
it's
right
that
there on
supportive.
the
Like
edge.
we're right in
Yeah.
the fucking middle of it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a stable area. I think the real interesting thing is you just mentioned the calls.
Yeah.
So if you look at how leverage on calls just drops as you go up,
Mm-hmm.
there's no like rise or even a flat zone. It just drops. That tells you that all the calls that are there are in the money.
Yeah.
They're all below us, right? There's no out of the money calls. And that's consistent with, this observation I made from some of the IV models that I'm working on, that IV is primarily depressed on the call side above us right now. And so that's consistent with people just hadn't really bought calls. So I think it's more of like this is just a reflexive move in volatility. It's not necessarily one that is being, yeah. So
I did it without models, but I agree with you.
You always do, right? I was telling you the other day, was it like 5 days ago? I was just like, that's always been how our relationship is. You say something, I'm just like, no. How do you know that? You can't just make shit up. And then I go and model it and do all this shit, and I come to the same conclusion. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I'm like, here, look at all these cool models, and here's what it says. And you're just like, that's what I said a week ago. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Well, that's like Girk and I saying that treasuries, need to be way higher, and then you went and modeled it a bunch, and you're like, guys, treasuries are super overpriced still.
But you know what? It's how I navigate the world, all right?
I think it's just like I think I've just been doing this too fucking long. For like too many hours of my life. Like they say what, like 10,000 hours is mastery, and I've got to be at like 25. How many hours are in my life?
I feel like this is a dark path to go down. Just start counting down the hours.
I need to know. Yeah. I need to know how many trading days I have left.
Yeah, I think it's more a percentage of your lifespan.
That's only like that's only 25,000 hours is only like 2.85 years.
Yeah, but that's like 24-hour days, right?
Yeah, so I probably am way above that.
Yeah.
Of course.
Maybe it's more like 80,000 hours. No, I think I might just have a problem.
Yeah, you're a degenerate gambler. It's all good.
All right.
People spend way more time researching sports for sports betting.
It'll be interesting to see if calls come in tomorrow. They could, because everybody's chomping at the bit to go long meme 7. So all of those calls could flood in tomorrow. But it could be an opportunity to go long ball to the upside. Just wait for all that.
Oh, dude, I think that the institutions are just going to sell straight into it. I don't know if it's going to go down, but they're definitely going to be offloading onto those baggies.
It'll be a sight to behold, sure. I think watch 10-year, 20-year, 30-year unfold during that.
Yeah,
if you start
10 years
seeing
especially.
weakness on those, I would not expect any pumps to last a long time. But if those kind of hold steady or even get under control,
if the 20-year goes back above 5%, shit's gonna get weird again.
yeah,
There's been a lot of like 10-year rollover into the 20, and I think the 20's also got some like some critical margin issues. But the 10-year above 4 or 5 starts to put some pressure on things. Above 5, it puts a lot of pressure on things. 5, 6%, everything starts to break. So it's a very dangerous game because those yields can move up extraordinarily fast under the right conditions. And so that's why you see so much government intervention with just the 10-year at 4 or 5. Which might I remind everybody, the 10-year ended Friday, right? Right below 4 or 5. So that's not, I don't think that's changing. Also, Trump,
Nope.
Trump just announced that everything's the same. He's not giving anyone a break, so.
well, I think
So that would knock the wind out of the sails of the weekend pump. I know Bitcoin dove on the news.
Well, also keep in mind that electronic stuff is still pulled back.
Is it?
I don't think that. I don't. Well, maybe nobody knows. But I don't think that. I don't think what he was saying applied to electronics. I think it was just. I don't even. Honestly, I just don't know.
I thought it was. Interesting.
Hey, Gert, you want to see something fun? You can't
They
share
need
this
to
on the stream.
Yeah, what is it?
They need to just.
Jay First is gonna be mad at me.
Is it in the chat?
God.
Yeah.
I'll describe it to people.
What's this?
It's something. It's a squiggle.
Why are you doing that?
Blue, purple, and orange, and it is labeled Cenis. But not like CNS, like
penis with a C at the beginning.
Continuous net settlement. It's Cenis with a C. It's penis with a C at the beginning. It's currently blue, not orange.
It's not blue. It's like a lavender color.
Okay, but it's not orange. It's not hot. It's cold.
It's yes and it's no.
It's the Bitcoin bear market incoming.
the crypto winter.
Yeah. Winter is coming.
Someone on Wall Street Bets posted the funny meme of "printer is coming" with Jay Powell on his face.
Yeah.
What is the Fed do in response to a collapse in the Treasury market? They're gonna try to pull back QT like immediately, right? They're gonna probably try to cut rates to nothing, and then inflation just goes to 20%.
Junk bonds.
I wonder if they knee-jerk react. Powell seems pretty adamant that he's not going to do anything.
If they knee-jerk react, I'm buying all risk assets, 100% all in.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy like Jan,
and I'm gonna sleep easy knowing that I'm never gonna be underwater on my house again because the price will be so high by that point that even a 60% drawdown, I'm still up.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be sitting here wondering how many chicken quesadillas I'll be able to buy with a monthly paycheck.
Dork, you can just buy one $5 out of the money leap, and by like next year, the value of it would just match your salary for the year.
That's true. Well, yeah. I don't know if I'll be. I want to buy it the same day though, and I think if I dump money into Fidelity, they're not going to let me buy options with it for like 6 weeks.
Like, if you have a 600 SPY call and we pump another $3 trillion into the economy, that thing's going $200 in the money.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's honestly probably what I'm gonna do. Once the government steps in, which they will, like, I don't think that it's even a question. Regulators will step in the moment that it looks like rich people are about to lose their nut. And at that point, I'm gonna buy SPY calls for.
See,
really
what happens
far
when the
out and
regulators
keep
step in
private money.
and then print a bunch of money, and then still nobody wants to buy our debt?
Well, then yields rocket, but our dollar's also worthless. So the billionaires win again.
Well, no, they lose. That's specifically how billionaires lose. What's the value of being worth $100 billion if the dollar's not worth anything?
Well, they're going to be worth $100 trillion now, Girk. You don't understand.
But still worth nothing.
Well, no, they're worth the same. It's just that the notional number is just bigger. It's the same number though, and we just have the thing is theirs stays the same, and our notional stays the same, right? Theirs doesn't because their actual value stays the same.
Oh my God,
our
you'll
value
finally be a
stays
millionaire.
notionally the same. I'll be a millionaire, but I'll be fucking poorer than shit because chicken quesadillas cost $90,000.
There's one wheelbarrow of cash that you have to wheel into the Taco Bell.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop paying for gas to heat my house and just start burning money.
We don't pay Dork. His salary is $0.
Yeah, Carl. Yeah, and Girk's wondering why I'm a fucking poor. I'm not a poor. I'm just a moderately poor.
Temporarily embarrassed millionaire.
Delayed gratification.
That's just gooning.
I mean,
I don't think we can successfully bail the billionaires out again. We can try. We probably will, but it's gonna fail.
What, Dork? What if the meaning of a happy life was the gooning we did along the way?
I mean, that's why I goon.
You goon, therefore you are.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm rich in goon.
You act like we aren't the military superpower. Doesn't matter.
What are we already addressed that? What are you gonna do? Like, how many?
The world?
Yeah. What are we gonna nuke everybody?
How many ships can you send to Taiwan? Like, at some point, it's like, what you send one more, what difference does it make?
I mean, yeah. So I guess what she's saying is that I guess if we kill enough people, like 500 million people die in the next world war, then we would actually be able to economically recover from a collapsed dollar.
Consider this though, it would hurt growth.
It would hurt growth, but the thing is you would have a wealth redistribution and a big.
They're not even willing to. They're like budged on tariff levels when there was even a hint that something wouldn't grow forever.
So look, Jay Fresh, I'm not saying those are all American lives. We don't even have that many lives to sacrifice. We only sacrifice like 10 to 15 million Americans, and then something like 400 million Chinese people, and like 30 million Russian people, and now we're back on top. That's all we got to do is just, wipe out something like a fifth of China's population.
I don't know if that's economically advantageous.
Well, yeah. Economically it is, but humanitarily, and ethically, and
leave the ethics and the humanitarianism out of it, and just focus on the numbers. I don't think that's beneficial to us. We entirely rely as an economy on Chinese manufacturing.
Well, tell me. So, okay, Girk, riddle me this. Okay, so of all of the superpowers in World War II, who lost the least amount of humans?
Ooh.
Like percentage of their population.
We didn't really have Okay, hold on. We didn't really have superpowers.
Soldiers per capita.
But the U.S.
Okay, yeah, but we didn't. But
I mean, it's probably some.
That's correct.
Probably some.
US,
actually, the real answer is probably some other country. But
well, no, I'm saying involved, right? Like countries that are involved. I mean, okay, so yeah, but no. A lot of other countries lost a lot more people. We lost the fewest of all the major nations that were at the table for the signing of the Warsaw Pact, and we ended up on top. Okay, Russia, communist Russia, the Soviet Union, they lost the most people. And what happened to the Soviet Union?
Number 2.
It collapsed. All right.
50 years later.
What happened to Germany? They collapsed.
Dork, hear me
You go
out.
back to World War One. What?
Hear me out, Dork. If we're after the world loses all these people, you know what they're going to need?
Food.
Baby farms to repopulate the earth.
Well, no, we reset the population growth a bit. We basically kicked the can on the sigmoid of population growth. It'll be it. But the country that loses the least humans, the least heartbeats that are stopped in that country is going to be the one that ends up on top, because they will have
Canada
to recover.
Germany got.
You think we are going to spare Canada in this? Hell no. We're going to invade Canada if there's a world war.
I'm starting.
We're also going to invade Mexico.
Starting a baby farm.
We should.
Damn, Germany got wrecked.
Yeah. Well,
they lost 8.23% of their 1939 population.
Yeah, and what happened to them?
They're
They're
the third largest economy in the world.
So regards Kiki is actually on the right track, that if there is enough wide-scale death, destruction, and human suffering, but it is minimized for one of the countries, that country will win.
I just want to say, in World War II, New York lost the most people. So that either means we're really bad at fighting, or more of us showed up.
Well, you guys are just horrible morons with terrible KD. You just charge into the fight and feed the enemies, so their KDs are padded. I mean, it's what you do. Bill Ackman figure. That's hilarious.
Anyway, let's wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
Wait, I gotta know, is Poopy's? Can I go first? Because I want to know if Poopy is positioned long or short the equity market.
I don't want that kind of bias being introduced into our analysis.
He's got to be long IWM. He's always long IWM.
He's only long IWM after it's gone up, though.
That is true as well.
So,
did it go up?
I don't know. Friday,
a little bit. Yeah, a bit. My Jeppy put still has depth on the bid ask, and by depth I mean like 5 contracts that someone's trying to buy for 15 cents.
All right, who goes first?
Well, Girk won, so technically him.
Yeah, I'll go first, and then because I've got to go first and then change it.
Yeah, hurry up. I swear, if you steal my prediction, you're not on TradingView, by the way, but if you steal my prediction, I'm going to be slightly disappointed.
Hold on, I'm trying to measure this shit. Oh, we have a short week this week. Does that change my opinion on things? Son of a bitch, it might.
We have a short week. What day is off? Friday?
Yeah, hold on. I gotta look at the economic calendar. What do we got coming up this week? I don't think it's very important. We have a lot of auctions.
You know what we could do to be really simple? We could put up a trading calendar on GS, because we already have that in the database.
Yeah, we could.
For what now?
We have retail
just so people know when all the
sales
holidays
on
and shit.
Oh.
Building
Yeah, we do have
permits,
market
housing
holidays
starts.
just sitting there.
So just retail sales on Wednesday, which are probably going to be bad.
Can we push desktop notifications every 3 minutes like Fidelity does for the holiday, for the entire week heading into the holiday?
Oh, I wish.
It looks like all of the Fed presidents are having a Limp Bizkit tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Larkin, Waller, Harker, and Bostic are all on deck to speak.
That's great.
All right, this is what I've got for the week.
Say
I
it
don't
to
see
me.
it. I don't see
Open
it, Kirk. It's not on the stream.
open around where we're at. Jump back to 49.53.
Oh shit.
Bounce from 49.53 to 5,200 in advance of retail sales, and then bleed back off to 49.53 into the end of the week.
You almost
nice.
stole my prediction.
Stop trying to be first. You could have been right
Fine.
last week, Dork, but instead you chose end of week at 47.50.
Okay, my bad.
That's what you did this week.
Yeah, sort of. Except 40,
You want to go, Jay Fresh?
49.50.
Oh yeah, I'll go.
Except entirely different number.
40. Fuck it. 4,600 by Wednesday.
You bitch.
Oh, sorry, 5,600 by Wednesday. I'm sorry.
By
Oh my
Wednesday?
God.
5,600.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Whew,
Thursday?
Very different.
You mean Thursday? End of week? What are we doing after 5,600 on Wednesday?
We're gonna close at 5,400.
On Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay. So violent.
All right. My turn. So we're going to open at 53.50. Okay.
All
right.
And then halfway through Monday, we will be at 55.94.72.
Okay, you can have.
Okay, and then close at 53.50.
Oh, you bitch.
And then next day, midday, 55.94.72. Close Tuesday at 53.50. Okay, and then midday Wednesday, 55.94.72.
hate you so much.
And then close Wednesday at 53.50.
I can't stop. It's so awful.
And then midday Thursday at 55.94.72. And then
God.
close Thursday at 48.60.
Why don't you just draw a fucking line to 48.60?
Because I want to troll the Discord. Why else?
All right. Fine.
All right, hurry up and make your adjustment to your predictions
No,
so that I
I
can
like
take the
mine.
screenshot.
I'm gonna leave it right where I have it.
No, you're fucking okay. I'm taking the screenshot in just a second here. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, I got the screenshot. All right, now, all right, and I'm posting it in the Discord, and it's posted in the Discord.
Okay, now I'm gonna change. No, I'm not. I'm good. I like it. All right, thank you guys for coming on. Go about the rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud. Thanks for having us.
Anytime.
Yields to the moon.
Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Johnny Gann, welcome to Zillionaire. Hit me up on the Discord. I'll get you added to the country club after I end this stream. You can just DM me. And if you guys had any questions that I didn't get to, or tickers I missed, or something like that, you can message me within reason. I should be around for most of the rest of the day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you later.